We have an unfortunate Raptors injury update as it seems Precious Achiuwa is joining the growing list of Raptors rotation players that are out of the lineup. Additionally, the Raptors got a nice win against the Pistons the other day, so we'll briefly touch on that. And Bobby Webster speaking out on the team's direction and future. So lots of stuff to break down. Without further ado, let's jump to the first topic of discussion. The first thing we're taking a look at is an unfortunate Raptors injury update. Now, the Raptors have dealt with a lot of injuries this season, and it's been a common theme, players coming in and out of the lineup. Obviously, we have Otto Porter Jr., who's been out for the entire season, right? Pascal hurt a little bit. Fred VanVleet, every second night's got a little minor injury and stuff. But Precious Achiuwa is also a guy that's dealt with some lower extremity issues over the course of this year, and it seems as if they have returned. As an injury update came from Michael Grange today, indicating that Gary Trent Jr. with his calf, Precious Achiuwa with his ankle sprain, are each questionable against the Orlando Magic, while OG Anunoby remains out. And this is pretty tough for the Toronto Raptors, as Precious has been in the starting lineup ever since OG Anunoby has gone out with injury, and all of these games are pretty important for the Toronto Raptors at this point. Again, the Toronto Raptors made a win now move, right? We were buyers ahead of this year's trade deadline, and we got a tough collapse, desperate loss to the Utah Jazz, and a close one against Detroit, which we'll cover in the next segment. Only a 1-point victory with OG and Gary were out of the lineup, but still a win the Toronto Raptors should have had by a lot larger margin. Now, there have been some encouraging factors with Jakob Poeltl sort of being more of a facilitator in the offense, less iso ball happening, despite the fact we have less floor spacing out there on the court, but you know, Precious Achiuwa is pretty integral to what this team does, especially when OG Anunoby's out of the lineup. So we play Orlando tomorrow. Going to be interesting to see how this depleted Raptors team, assuming the Gary Trent Jr. and Precious Achiuwa aren't in the lineup, end up playing. And obviously we want Precious Achiuwa to recover fully because he's dealt with some ankle stuff, kept him out for a couple months there over the course of the season. We don't want this to become something serious. So hopefully the Raptors can manage with Precious Achiuwa, Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby out of the lineup. And if we're looking to make a playoff push now, we have to play through these injuries and get some stuff rocking. But the Raptors were able to get a W the other night. Unfortunately, couldn't get a reaction to it, but the Raptors pull out a tough win against the Detroit Pistons. And unfortunately, I apologize. I wanted to get a little live. I had a basketball game. My personal basketball game, so I missed the fourth quarter of this one. I was still planning on going live, but had an insane headache when I came home from it, a little migraine. Couldn't get the initial reaction, but recording it here tonight. The video's probably coming out Tuesday morning, so I apologize for this. But Raptors had some leads in this game, and unfortunately, Detroit clawed back. The Raptors were selling at points, and the offense just seems to go through droughts at times with this team, but, you know, Toronto was able to pull it out. Looking at the box score, right? Pascal Siakam, 28 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, 10 of 19 from the field. Doing his thing out there, doing his Pascal Siakam elite plays. You know, he's just been a steady, stoic figure throughout the roller coaster of a season we've had. The consistency that Pascal has shown out there on the court, right, to be that number one option night in, night out, has been a huge plus. But he didn't take the most shots last night, as Fred VanVleet had a pretty solid box score. I mean, 35 points, 8 assists, 3 rebounds. You can't complain about that. 6 of 13. I'm also not going to complain about the 3-point shooting percentages, but 12 of 26 from the field. And the fact that he did take 26 shots has a few Toronto Raptors fans a little bit fired up, a little bit frustrated with the amount of shots that Fred VanVleet has taken. I've seen a lot of pushback thrown on Fred, you know, for shooting. Yes, he did say take some heat checks. Took a full court shot early in the game and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know. I get both sides of it. I think Fred VanVleet does sort of, you know, if the Raptors offense gets a little bit stagnant, Fred does take a few of those bailout shots. But there are some shots he's taken early in the shot clock, which are those heat check Kyle Lowry 3-pointers. And we loved them when Kyle Lowry would take them because they're those momentum swinging shots, right? You're up 7 or something, you hit one down, you get to double-digit lead, or, you know, you've hit a couple shots, you hit a transition 3, you can completely just crush the spirit of the other squad. And when they go down, they feel so great as a Raptors fan. But it seems like Fred VanVleet just rushes them a little bit, rushes those shots, and never really seems to hit them. And now he did hit 16 of 13 3-pointers, so I like that shooting, you know, from the 3-point line, but He's not an amazing finisher from around the rim. He's not like the worst in the league at this point in terms of inside scoring, but he's still in the bottom tier and bottom of that category. But I don't know. 35 points, 8 assists. I'm not going to come out and bash Fred VanVleet the same way others have, but I would like to see some of those shots go to guys like Scotty Barnes, Precious Achiuwa, other players around the squad. OG Anunoby, Gary when they come back, but I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought about Fred VanVleet's performance in this one. Right, Precious Achiuwa, 11 points, solid performance. Scotty Barnes on 6 shots, 20 points. 5 or 6 from the field, 3 or 4 from the 3-point line. That's the thing, right? Like, again, obviously we have high expectations for Scotty. We all want him to take that leap, but he is remarkably efficient when he sort of, not every night, he has his inconsistencies, but that post hook he takes, right, the jump shots, they come and go. But that post hook, those finishes around the rim, he is a very strong, just shot creator on the inside. Now, there's points of the season where the advanced stats don't love him in terms of being a inside shot creator. He's not the most efficient compared to other guys around the league, but just from the eye test, that little post hook he has is a pretty effective shot for him in his game. He was able to get it going against the Pistons, and I'd like to see that aggression come from Scotty Barnes a little bit more. So some of it comes from his end, but it also comes from Fred VanVleet's side of things. As the point guard, as the guy that's supposed to be facilitating for others, right? It can't just be on our new center acquisition, Jakob Poeltl, to facilitate, run the entire offense, right? We need Fred to sort of put Scotty in a position to score, and that's what his job is as a floor general. Kyle Lowry, while he still took those heat check shots, he always made sure everyone eats first. If people are cooking, Scotty Barnes is 5-6 from the field, right? He should get his shots to go down. But Jakob Poeltl, once again, fouled out in this game here tonight. 6 fouls, 6 points. You might not say it was a big game for Yak, but 3 blocks, 2 steals. The defense, Raptors defense looks a whole lot better with Jakob Poeltl out there on the court, and he is facilitating, right? He's making some nice dimes, right? The Raptors are giving it to him in the mid-post, the low-post area. He's able to just swing that basketball a little bit. Definitely not the creative playmaking ability of a Marc Gasol, but it's not horribly off, right? He's a guy that can actually create out of the block in the offensive end. Would be nice to see him knock down a few more of those touch shots, and missed a couple of those. And free throws tonight, didn't take any free throws. Should be getting the line as a big man, but thought Jakob Poeltl, his impact was felt there on the positive end for Big Yak. So nice to see him perform. And then off the bench, right, Boucher had 7 points. Thaddeus Young had 4. Malachi Flynn had 5. Delano Banton getting some run, which is nice to see under head coach Adrian Griffin. Right, Nick Nurse wasn't running these lineups, and while we did still see some bigger minute totals from guys like Siakam, Scotty Barnes, Fred VanVleet in the 37 range, it's nice to see at least 4 guys come off the bench, almost get 10 minutes a night each. For our guys off the bench. So Adrian Griffin thought he did a solid job, just managing the lineups, managing the rotations and all that. Shouldn't have let the Pistons come back in this one down the stretch. It was fortunate, but they were able to pull it out. So again, we're adjusting to the new Jakob Poeltl era, and we'll see what ends up happening. But if you guys are interested in betting on the Toronto Raptors, definitely check out the Cool Bet Sportsbook. Bet every single Raptors game, NBA game, or just any sport really in general. Right? I know there's a lot of interesting bets going on for the Super Bowl, but the Raptors also have some games, right? And they're pretty... Who knows what's going to happen, what direction, but if you think and you want to make the games a little bit more exciting, definitely bet on the Toronto Raptors or against the Toronto Raptors using the Cool Bet Sportsbook. We play the Orlando Magic tomorrow night, who beat us in our last 2 outings, but that was before we acquired Jakob Poeltl, and the odds are pretty even, right? They're exactly even for the Toronto Raptors in terms of getting a win, right? So, if you want to bet on the Raptors, or that's a spread. The Toronto Raptors have the odds there. I'm reading this wrong, but if you want to bet on the Raptors beating the Orlando Magic, the money is pretty solid for the Raptors. Solid bet for the Raptors to get that going there. So shout out to Cool Bet for supporting the podcast. But next thing we're taking a look at is Bobby Webster speaking out on the Raptors' future. Now the Raptors are an interesting spot. Right, we are currently in the Jakob Poeltl era. After we were buyers ahead of this trade deadline, we are 1-1, and 2 games that feels like we should have won, but 2 games that we easily could have lost due to fourth quarter collapses. So, we're 1-1 against 2 of the lesser teams in the NBA, But Bobby Webster had some positive comments, and this was actually before the recent games in the Portal era, so I'm a little bit late to reporting on this or reacting to the Bobby Webster's comments. But I thought it was pretty interesting and telling due to his opinion, his the Raptors' perspective on the future, and it's only furthered by the last 2 games. But basically, Bobby Webster came out and basically said, even if we've lost games, we've been in every single game. This team is turning the corner and making a push here, according to Bobby Webster. So, that's coming from the Tim and Friends show. He had a little comments on there. But he's looking, a lot of Raptors fans are looking at these close losses, close games, and saying, hey, the Raptors can't close. And as it's widely known, I believe it was Serge Ibaka who said it, that good teams just find a way to win. And the inverse to that is bad teams find a way to lose. So a lot of Toronto Raptors fans are saying, hey, we have a lot of talent. We're in all these games, but we just can't close them out because we aren't that level of team. But Bobby Webster's sort of coming at it from the perspective, hey, we are turning a corner right now, especially in the recent month. All right, a lot of the games that we haven't won, we are right in the midst of things. We just aren't able to finish it off. Now with the acquisition of a center, we can sort of fill some of the holes that really have been sinking our ships at the end of games, right? Also allows us to run a deeper rotation, but with all the injuries we've sustained, we haven't really been able to fully see it. But Bobby Webster, Masai Ujiri sort of look at this team as turning a little corner, even though we didn't have the greatest of road trips. But I don't know. I don't mind the confidence. We are a buyer right now. I'm rooting for the Toronto Raptors to get some wins. A lot of Raptors fans were a little bit shook following the loss to the Utah Jazz, but I don't mind Bobby Webster's comments on that front. Let me know what you guys think, or you guys agree that the Raptors are trending in the right direction. Final thing we're taking a look at in this video is the Raptors social media team flaming the Indiana Pacers. And Toronto Raptors social media, they always got some funny comments. The Twitter page always got some fun stuff going on, and obviously they're always trying to back their guys, the lifelong Toronto Raptors. And the Pacers came out and reported that we have waived Serge Ibaka, the period, and then Raptors responded, did he wave back? With the laughing emoji. Now, what am I? Am I Gen Z? I think I said I am Gen Z. I'm an older Gen Z or whatever the heck it's called, but not into all the trends. But I thought "did he wave back" was sort of a roast of the guy that got waved. Did he wave back, like roasting Serge Ibaka? Because it's not. I don't know. But it seemed like they were going after the Indiana Pacers there, doing a little response, supporting their guy, Serge Ibaka, who's now out there on the open market. Will be interesting to see where Serge Ibaka lands. Happy that he's, likely going to go to a contender, I assume, if the Indiana Pacers waived him. But I always love to see those fun interactions on Raptors social media. But folks, you guys are the best for making this far. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Lots of fun stuff coming. So you guys are the best. I'm signing out. Cheers.